In the past few months, I've managed to produce double-sided PCBs with good reliability and precision. However, I haven't yet pushed for the highest resolution possible. In this video, I'm going to try to achieve 100 micron tracks. I've already shown a similar technique for double-sided boards, but this is an improved version of that process. I will be making a simpler yet more complete guide on my PCB workflow soon, so if you don't want to miss it, consider subscribing. In KiCad, or your preferred PCB software, you must set the minimum clearance to 0.05mm and track width to 0.1mm to get the maximum resolution. For this test, I'm only exporting the front layer. In FlatCAM, which allows us to export the geometry in the correct format, we go to Isolation Routing to set the tool diameter. Since I'm using a fiber laser, which isn't a mechanical CNC, it doesn't have a physical tool diameter. However, we can estimate it. The datasheet for a generic fiber laser like mine specifies a minimum line width of 0.01mm. In a real-world scenario, using a vacuum plate and perfect focus, I found that 0.05mm is a realistic value. In my previous video, I used 0.0001 because I assumed the laser dot was negligible. But if the track width is comparable to the dot diameter, it can lead to inconsistent thickness or even destroy the track entirely. Still in FlatCAM, after generating the geometry, you need to draw another rectangle over the external border. The software I'm using is a generic one for fiber lasers. They're mostly clones of each other. I've configured the etching parameters like this, and here is the result after processing. Now the board, coated with a fine layer of white spray paint, is placed in the laser. This steel plate with the holes is a vacuum bed that I built to keep the workpieces perfectly flat. If you're curious about how I made it, I linked that build video in the description. Once the vacuum is engaged, we can start the laser. To me, it's always incredible to see how fast this machine actually is. The etching process is extremely delicate at its scale. It requires the right chemical concentration and precise timing to avoid heavy under-etching. While spray etching would be the professional choice, I stick with wet immersion etching. It's easier, cheaper, and allows me to work with very small amounts of reagents. My first test used 1 ml of water, 2 ml of 30% hydrochloric acid, and 3 drops of 35% hydrogen peroxide. The copper was gone in just 1 minute, but that's actually too fast. While speed sounds good, in precision etching it means errors and over-etching can spiral out of control. To gain more control, I adjusted the mixture to 2 ml of water, 2 ml of HCl, and only 2 drops of peroxide. This increased the time to 90 seconds. However, some spots still refused to etch after an extra 30 seconds. This was a huge red flag, so I decided to increase the clearance in KiCad to 0.1mm. After updating the design and lasering new boards, I tried to etch 3 of them at once. Big mistake. The boards overlapped, preventing the chemicals from reaching the copper evenly. Despite this, the microscope showed that the traces were thicker and more defined than before. A good sign. Next, I measured the electrical resistance and the results were higher than the theoretical values. For a trace 245mm long, 0.1mm wide and 18 micron thick, the math says I should get 2.4 ohms. Instead, I got 3.9. This suggests that the traces are still slightly thinner than the intended due to under-etching. To be safe and increase reliability, I went back to the CAD and bumped the clearance to 0.12mm, even if it meant sacrificing a bit of absolute resolution. After lasering 2 more boards, with the new settings, I found the sweet spot. 2 ml of water, 2 ml of HCl, 2 drops of peroxide and constant agitation for 90 seconds. This worked wonderfully on both boards. Under the microscope, the traces look solid and consistent. While the resistance is still slightly above the ideal value, it's lower than my previous attempts. And more importantly, it's consistent between different boards. Making PCBs with this level of resolution isn't always necessary for every project. But if I can achieve this precision easily, why not have that tool in my belt? My goal was to see if my current setup could produce reliable, fast, and repeatable results. And I think I nailed it. Because of these improvements, I'll be releasing an updated step-by-step guide soon. If you don't want to miss that, or if you're interested in projects where I bridge the gap between electronics and mechanics, consider subscribing. Obviously, there is still room for improvement. I want to investigate exactly why the resistance is slightly off and see how much further I can shrink these designs. But for my current needs, this is much more than enough. So, if you enjoyed this deep dive, support the channel with a like, and I'll see you in the next one.